Hello, this is an introduction and tutorial for my skUB method, skUB. The name is a combination of skUB and my initials UB. The concept and early version of this method was invented in late 2022 and early 2023, but over the past half a year we've developed it some more and it's now more viable. There will be timestamps in the description so you can jump around if you want or if you're coming back to view certain sections. So the method is a two-gen reduction method, meaning that if you look at this, you can have a scramble like this, and then what you want to do is you want to solve this block like this, but you also want to do it in a way such that you only need to turn these two layers in order to solve it. If you were to do this randomly, like I've done here, there's only a 1 in 9 chance that it's actually solvable using these two-gen moves. But with this method, you can do it every time. Before we move on to the tutorial, I just wanted to give some creds. So first, Håvard Ferden, he developed the Centertracing that we will be using here. It's called FACTS. It stands for Ferden's Actual Centertracing System. He also helped me expand the method with block 1 and 2. I'll go into that later. Also, Anders Barhaugen, he has helped with some small developments, and he also helped motivate me to keep practicing. And then I don't think I would have uploaded this right now if not for him. And also Einar Lundberg, he helped early on with some stats, and also he has made a practice tool that you will find in the description. When I said that you could solve it every time, that's actually kind of a lie. In actuality, you need one of these cases. And what I mean by that is you need what I call a mini block, that is a block like this, but you don't have this filled in. You can also have like a twisted mini block where one of the corners is twisted. So I call this block 1 or twisted mini block 1, and then this 2, just depending on where this is twisted. The mirrors are also fine. So like you could have this as well. So if you learn all these 3 cases, then you will be able to solve 68.23% of all legal scrambles. And if you also allow something like tracking one move into one of these, then you will be able to solve 99.39% of all legal scrambles. So before we move on to the actual tutorial here, I'll just give a brief overview. So the first thing we will do is go over how to solve a mini block like this. That includes a corner tracing and a center tracing. So you need to solve both, or yeah, you need 2 separate tracings, and that will give you a solution. After that, I will go over to block 1 and 2. They will use the same tracing, but the solutions are a bit different. You will also need to remember some stuff, but I have summed that up in a table. You can find it in the description, and I will also put it up on the screen. I will also have some finishing stuff on how to solve 2gen and some ideas on the method and stuff in general. So to solve a mini block like this, we have to do 2 separate tracings, one for corners and one for centers. The corner tracing will give you either a sledge, hedge, or a back sledge, and that can be solved. Say you have a sledge, then you put the center that goes in here, you put it opposite, then you can do a sledge here, which will then fix this. The same if you have a hedge, you can just put it here and do a hedge. And lastly, if you have a back sledge, you can put it on top and you can do a sledge from the back like this. Yeah. Also, if you notice here, we can put this aside, and then we can actually swap the center here around, and then we can move this in. So overall we have 3 options for sledge, sledge, hedge, or backsledge, and we have 3 options for centers. 1, 2, 3. And in total, that makes it so you can solve any case. So I talked about there being a 1 in 9 chance of getting it randomly. You can, if you do these tracings, you can solve it every time. So the scramble is in the description, and it's also on screen. Yeah, we put the Miniblock in the bank, and now I will explain the corner tracing. So the corner tracing requires us to get 2 numbers, or find 2 numbers, and then we compare them, and by comparing them we can tell if we have to do a sledge, hedge, or a backsledge. So the first number, it requires us to look at these 4 pieces, these corners. We can label them A, B, C, and D, and we have to look at the orientation of them. And it actually doesn't matter which colors we look at, we just have to look at 2 opposite colors. So for example, we can look at white yellow, or blue green, or red orange. So for each corner they will get a number based on the orientation, and that number is 0 if it points upwards, like these 2. It's 1 if it points to the side, so like here, so this would be 1. And it's 2 if it points to the back, like this one. It's also 2 if it points to the front. And then what we want to do is we want to add these 2 together and then subtract these 2. We will also do that modulo 3. If you don't know what that is, just think of it as adding or subtracting 3's until we get 0, 1, or 2. So for this example, we will look at white yellow. The reason we look at white yellow here is because 2 of the pieces on top is white yellow. There will always be at least 2 pieces of the same or like opposite colors like this. So I recommend looking at that, but it really doesn't matter. We could look at any colors. So the formula gives us this plus this minus this minus this. So 0 plus 1 minus 0 minus 2. So that's 1 minus 2, which is minus 1. And if we do that modulo 3, we can just add 3, and that gives us 2. So that's our first number. After we have found our first number, we have to find the second number, and that's only dependent on where the D corners, so the ones that are being solved here, where they are. So you just have to remember this, but it's not that hard. If they are side by side on the front, like this, then you would get 0. If they are on top of each other, like this, you would have 1, and anything else is 2. So in other words, if any of the D corners are in the back, like this, or like this, or this, then you would have 2. In our case, we have 1. It's pretty easy to remember because they're on top of each other, so if you draw a line, it resembles a 1. And I guess you could also like imagine this as a 0, because minus is often used as a placeholder when it's 0 or something is empty or something like that. But yeah, in our case we have 1. So our first number was 2, our second number was 1. There are a couple of ways to think about this. One way is to take the second number minus the first number, so 1 minus 2, that gives minus 1, which again, take in modulo 3, so minus 1 is 2, and that just corresponds to hedge. That's the entire tracing. So the way I think about it is, instead of taking the second number minus the first number, I just think my first number, that's 2, and then the second number, that's 1. 2 to 1, that's minus 1, and that gives me minus 1, and that's the same as 2. So in other words, in this case we have to do hedge. So just to prove that it works, I can put this here and then do a hedge, and now if I try to solve, I can get the corners solved. But I still have a U-perm here, and that's not solvable to Gen. I have to rotate and solve that. So for this scramble we got hedge. If we get 1, then that would correspond to a sledge, and if we get 0, that means the corners are already 2gen, so we have to do a backsledge to solve that. But as said, this scramble requires a hedge from this angle. Next, let's jump into the center tracing, and the center tracing gives us which center we want to hide. So if we put this here, we have to put either this one, or this one in this spot. And to do that, we will use Håvard Ferden's center tracing system, FACTS, as he calls it. And it's actually pretty simple. The first thing you want to do is you want to imagine one move being done to put these side by side. It doesn't matter where. You can put it like this. You can put it like this. You could also imagine these two moves, but that would be unnecessarily complicated. So instead we just imagine one move. In this case, let's just imagine R prime like this. And then what we simply do now is we start from the back, 1, then we trace that to its position, so white goes to the top, 2, and then we trace this to its position, 3, and then that is the entire tracing. But there are some rules here. So the B center, this center, the one that goes in the back, if we don't hit upon it at all, like here, 1, 2, 3, and this was never hit upon when we did this, then this is the center we want to hide. If we do hit upon it, so let's for example imagine that we did this instead. So instead of doing R prime, we imagined L prime. Then we would do 1, 2, and then on the third one we actually hit upon the center that goes in the back. In that case, you just go back to center 2, and that is your hiding center, the one you want to hide. Yeah, there's also one more. So imagine we have something like this. So they are aligned. I just did a sledge if you want to follow. So we do 1, 2, and then we already hit upon it. Then what you have to do is you need to look for the center that is solved. So this one is green here. So yeah, so that's the 3 rules. So 1, if you count 1, 2, 3 and you never hit upon the B center, then it's the center you'll end on. If you hit upon it on the last one, then you just go back to the previous one. And if you hit upon it instantly, so 1, 2, then you need to look for the center that is already solved, like this. You can verify that it was the green center in all different cases, as it should be. So green is the center we want to hide. And then we also want to put this in this spot and then do a hedge. So this is easy in this case. We can do like this, R prime, to put this in, and also align this. Then rotate to the side, do a hedge. We don't need to do the last move because it's already 2gen. Although here it's probably nice. Yeah, it is nice. I also want to just point out, this is the same scramble, that doing this move, so hiding this here and then doing a hedge over here, is equivalent to doing this move, so hiding it over here, and then doing a sledge on this side. So you can do both, and depending on scramble, for example, if this was our scramble, then it would be much better to just do a sledge from this angle instead of doing 1, 2, and then a hedge from this angle. Another thing, I'm just going to do a sledge from this angle now. Okay, so imagine we have this scramble. So this requires doing a sledge, and we also, if we do the center tracing, I'm just going to do that quickly now. So we can imagine this move. 1, 2. We hit up on the B center, so we have to look for the one that is solved. Oh, that's this one. So yeah. So now we have to do a sledge to solve it because of the way I set it up. You can also verify this by doing the corner tracing. We have to first put this in, and then we can do this and then do a sledge, but notice that the first move in sledge is R prime like this. So instead, we can just cancel that directly by doing this, and that would be our 2-gen reduction. I also want to show the backsledge solution, so same scramble. Let's go here, then we just do a hedge. So yeah, so you can do the tracing. You will get, actually I'll just go through it. So corner tracing first. I'll look at white yellow because there are 2 whites on the top. So we get 2 plus 0 minus 1 minus 0, which is 1. And 1 is also 1 modulo 3. And then these 2 are like this. So we have 1 as the second number as well. 1 to 1 is 0, or 1 minus 1 is 0, if you want to think of it like that, meaning we have backsledge. And then we can do the tracing, the center tracing. It's actually the same as the previous one. So we could imagine this, 1, 2, this goes back here, so we have to look for the one that is solved, and this one is solved. So we have to hide this one, and this is our back center. And the way we do it now is by doing this. So this one is in the front, not on the right side. And then we can do a sledge. We could also do a hedge, but I usually do a sledge from this angle with this one in the front, and that's our 2-gen reduction. Practicing mini blocks is super important for this method. So I will explain the block 1 and block 2, how to solve those really soon. But really, if you know how to solve the mini blocks, then the tracing will be similar, or the tracing will be exactly the same. It just the solutions themselves vary a bit. And if you want to solve or practice mini blocks, I recommend Einar mini block scrambler. It only gives you scrambles with mini blocks, so that's really nice. Not all of them are WSA legal, but that doesn't matter, it's just for practice anyways, and it's much easier than skipping through random scrambles you find on CS Timer. So over to block 1 and block 2, or twisted mini block 1 and twisted mini block 2. This would be block 1, and the idea behind the name is just, if you look at it with like the twisted block in the back like this, then this points to the side. So using the same logic as when we do the corner tracing, then this would be 1. For this, if we look at green and red and hold it like this, so this one is in the back, then this one points to the back, and then this is then block 2. Yeah, so that's the whole idea. To solve block 1, what we want to do is just set up to a trigger. So this is already set up. We can do 1, 2, 3 to fix the block. And same here. If we set up this like this, 1, 2, 3, we will have fixed this block. But this won't make it 2-gen alone. So the whole idea is to set up this properly, so this actually gives us 2-gen. So same scramble as previously, or as the one that was here. The scramble is here and in the description. So we can start by doing the corner tracing, and then we can do the center tracing. We can just do that here. I'll guide you through it, and then I will explain how that forms our solution. So first, let's do the corner tracing. We have A, B, C, D. I will choose to look at white, yellow here, because we have these 3 on top being 0. So this is the only one affecting the number, and this is 2. So 2. And then we have to look at the D corners, so the 2 with white on them, so this one and this one. Since one of them is in the back, we have 2. So our first number is 2, our second is 2. We can subtract them or think 2 to 2 or whatever, and that will give us 0. You can now use the table. I will flash it on the screen, and you can also look in the description. So 2 to 2 or 0, that is the same as doing an R prime. I will explain exactly how to do that, but we have to first do the center tracing. So let's just imagine an R prime being done, because then we can put these side by side like this, Of course, we could also imagine this move, but let's just do this now. B, or 1, we look at the B or the back, 1, 2, this is the B center, so we have to look for the one that is solved, and that is this yellow center. Meaning, if we go back here, this is the center we want to hide, and by hiding means we want to place it here, but our corner tracing gave us an R prime, and what this means is that we have to do an R prime in total to put this here. So the best way I would do that here is by doing R and then F prime R, because RR is the same as R prime. So R, put this here, and then put it up like this with the other move, and then R. So a total of R prime has been done to put this here. And now we can align this and then fix this like this. And then the 2-gen solution, we can align these two and then double hedge. Moving on, we have block 2. So we look at green and red. So the tracing is exactly the same, but we have to, or we will get slightly different stuff from the table. So you'll just have to look at that for now or remember it. So let's start. So I will once again look at white and yellow, because we have 2 whites on top and they are both 0. So 2 plus 0 minus 0 minus 1, that's 2 minus 1, which is 1. Next we look at the D centers, so we have one here and then the other one is here. Since 1 is in the back, we get 2, so our first number is 1, our second number is 2, and 1 to 2, or 2 minus 1, however you want to look at it, that's the same as 1. From the table we get that this is 0 R moves. And then, so I'll show you how to solve this, but we first need to find our center. So first let's just imagine this move to align these two. Then we do 1 from the back, 2, 3. So from the scramble we get this as our hiding center. So we want to put this one in here using a total of 0 R moves. R prime is equivalent to 0 R moves, so we can do that. R, put this down here, and R prime. Now we'll hit it with 0 R moves in total. Align this one, and then do the trigger to fix it. Yeah, so next we can solve it. We can, for example, do something like this. No. Yeah, that's 2-gen. Make sure when you have block 1 or block 2 that you don't have a full block 1 or 2. So it has to be a twisted mini block, so the B center cannot already be in here. You have to have it in one of these 4 slots. This one, this one, this one, or this one. If not, you cannot do a move and then insert it like this. Another thing, you can also get something like this. So here you have block 2 as well, but it's twisted, or it's not twisted, it's mirrored compared to what we had earlier. And the tracing is exactly the same, but you will not get R moves, you would rather get L moves. And in that regard, I've also written this in the table. It might be beneficial to think of it as pluses or minuses. So instead of thinking that the tracing gives you an R, it gives you plus. So yeah, so in this case, like say you had an R here, it would not be 1 R move, it would be 1 L prime. Another note, and I will not go into detail here, but you could actually use sledges and hedges as well. So for here we have the first scramble again, if you remember, or the block 1 scramble I mean. If you remember, we had to move this into this spot using a number of R moves, but instead of doing that, what we could do is we could just do a sledge from this angle. We can also cancel here, So that means instead of doing our stuff on this side, we could just do 1, 2, 3 like this. That's a sledge without the first move. Align this one, and then this would be our finish. So that is in essence the method. I will just go through some some theory on solving 2gen as well. Solving 2gen is really easy, but there are some things that you can do to make it better. So the easiest way is just to fix this and this corner, and then fix this corner, and then you will get something like this. However, there are some things you can do to make it better. So let's just see. What you can do is you can solve this, and then while you solve the other one, make sure you have a pair of corner center, and just keep that, or don't separate them, or make sure they're fixed when you fix the corner. Because if you do that, then this is the worst case you can get. You can get double sledge or double hedge. You could actually also extend this a little bit. So instead of thinking that you have to fix this, have these two fixed like this, you could also think of it as you have to fix, you have to have one opposite or something like that. So for example, I could, when I fix this, I could instead insert this orange into this spot, like this, and that will give you triple sledge as worst case, but often sledge or hedge. As the method is still very fresh, there are still a lot of ideas that we could build off of and potentially improve a lot with. So I thought I'd mention some of them here. One of them is making other categories. So instead of learning to track one move in, you could potentially learn stuff like this. So if you have a diag mini block like this, then potentially you could set up something like this and then do these 3 moves to fix this block. And maybe that could be used for 2gen. I'm not sure. I have tried to look a little bit into it, but I haven't found anything useful yet. Same with this. So you have, if this is twisted, but it's diag, then you can do these 2 moves. And what would it be? Like this, if it's twisted the other way, diag. I did check though, if we were able to make all these variants, then we would be able to use the method 90% of the time without tracing or tracking any moves. Another idea is that we have some options when we make the full block. So for example, let's say this is our scramble. I haven't done the tracing or anything here, but imagine we get a sledge and that we have to hide this center. So what we could do is this, put this here, and then do a sledge. However, we could also do this and then do a hedge from this angle. And as you can tell, this gives you 2 different solutions, and that could actually be interesting to look into, because maybe one of them could give a really easy solution or a really easy finish, while the other one would be harder. Not sure. We also have the options for block 1 and 2. So if we have this one twisted, for example, and then let's say this is the center we want to hide, then yeah, so we want to hide this, and we have some options. So say we have to do an R or a sledge, so we could do these 3 moves to put it in, but we could also do a sledge from this angle. These are 2 different options, and maybe they could be used to find the best finish afterwards. Another one, so I mentioned how I solved 2gen, or some ideas there, but there are actually only 972 different 2gen states, and they are very easy to reduce. So let's say I have something like this. This is 2gen now. What you could do, so this is one of 972 cases, but if you do one move, or if you do something to align and like orient and permute this one, then you've already divided by 9. And then if you also fix this, you don't even need to orient it correctly, then you're already down to 36 cases. So there could be like really easy ways to reduce it and then just remember a ton of algs, or not even a ton of algs, but some algs. So yeah, there's also a bunch of like development that could be done here to make the 2gen solving better. Also, there is also the possibility that you could use only parts of the method. If you, for example, only solve centers or only solve corners while you fix the full block, then you will limit the types of NS cases you can get. For example, if you only fix the centers, no, if you only fix the corners, then getting a U-perm is much more likely. So it's a possible way to use some of the ideas from this method. Overall, I would not claim that this method is better than already existing ones, but it's definitely unique. So in general, the method would probably not beat NS, but for specific scrambles, it could actually be a lot better. I will cover one such example below. There are also many examples where it's just bad, at least for now. So in general, Miniblock with sledge or hedge is pretty good, because you can always reduce in 3 to 5 moves. Yeah, but backsledge is not that good. It requires at least 4, but it could require up to 7 moves and also a Y2 afterwards. Block 1 and Block 2 requires 3 to 7 moves depending on the case, so it's a bit worse than Miniblock. So say for example, if you have a 7 move reduction and you're not guaranteed to have a good solution, or you're guaranteed to not have a good solution, then you could probably just dismiss those solutions, at least if you want to be really good. But at the same time, I believe that some solutions could be good. So in sort of a best case scenario, maybe this method could be used in addition to NS. For example, if you see that you have a mini block and you can reduce it quickly, say in 4 moves, and then potentially also check what kind of cases you get afterwards. So it's a bit of a ramble here, but the idea is even if you were to only end up using it 1/3 of the time when you get it, that would still be 1 out of every 15 solves. And that's not bad, especially if that could mean the difference between a record or not. To finish this off, I'd just like to do a couple of examples, just so that's actually done. So this is a scramble. I have it here and in the description. So we can do the tracing. First corners. I will look at green blue here because we have 3 blues on the top. So we get 1, and the one of the D corners, this one, is in the back. So 1 to 2, or 2 minus 1. That is sledge, or it's 1, which is sledge. We can do the Centertracing. 1, 2, and then this is a bit weird, but I will imagine the move. So 1, 2, and then this will be our hiding center. If you're not convinced, you can just imagine this move to align these two, and then 1, 2, 3. So this one is our hiding center, and then we want to put this one in here. And we want to do that using a sledge. So instead of doing a sledge from this angle, I will instead do a hedge from this angle. But the first move would be this, and then the first move of the hedge would be this. So instead, I can just start from this angle, do 1, 2, 3 to put this in, and that's our reduction. And then our finish, we can put this one here, and then align like this. It's magic. here is another example. So if you look at the scramble, we have a block 2 on blue. So we can look at it from here, put it in the back like this, and then we can start tracing. Here I will look at red orange, or red in this case because all the reds are on top. So 0, 1, 0, 1, 0 plus 1 minus 0 minus 1, that's 0. And then blue, or the D corners are the blue ones, so they are here. And that's 0, so we have 0 to 0, or 0 minus 0, which is 0. And that's the same as an R prime in this case. So next we have to find the center that we want to hide. So these two are already aligned, so we can just do the tracing. 1, 2, 3. And here, since we met this one here, we have to go back to 2. So our tracing, or our solution then will be this one into here with 1 R prime. So first we do this move that puts it in here, and then we can do an R prime. So now it's put in using only 1 R prime. And then we can fix this. And then here, I would probably do this. So I see these ones are fixed. Yeah, so I can preserve them like this, and that solves the entire thing. This one, so we can look at white, red, block 2, and this is mirrored. So first we can do the tracing. This one is really easy. So we can look at green, blue because they're all on top, so it's just 0. And then one of the D corners, this white one here, is in the top, so it's 0 to 2. For block 2, that's the same as a plus or an L prime. So next, so we have to do an L prime. Next, let's do the center tracing. I will imagine an R prime to put these two side by side here. So 1, 2, and then 3. So this is the center we want to hide, and we can do that simply by doing an L prime. It's already in the correct spot. So we put this in here, and then this one will get over here. We can align it and then do the trigger. So 1, 2, align, and then triple stitch. Finally, I'd like to go through one complicated example. So for this scramble, we don't have any mini blocks. We don't have any block 1s or block 2s. So if you wanted to use my method here, you would have to track one move. In this example, we will use this move to make this block 1. So it will get quite complicated. I will just do the tracing like this, because I think the solution demonstrates some potential of the method. But yeah, so let's just do this now, and then we can do the tracing. So looking at the corners, we can look at white and yellow because we have 2 whites on top. That gives us 2 plus 0 minus 1 minus 0. 2 minus 1, that's 1. For the second variable we have to find, that's 2, because one of the D corners is in the back. So overall 1 to 2, or 2 minus 1, that's 1, which gives us plus in this case. So we have to do 1R. Next we have to imagine one move to align these two. That's also, just as a note, that makes it a bit more complicated, because you first have to imagine this move to make this, and then you have to imagine this move. I think it's all right, but it's not super easy. Like, it will definitely add a little bit of time, even if you're really good. But yeah, so we can do the center tracing from this position. 1, 2, 3. We did not hit upon the B center, so this is the center we want to hide. So what we could do now So from the scramble here, we could first put this in, then we could do R, and then put this here, and then R, because two R's are two R's is the same as R prime, and then we could align this. It's already aligned, and then fix it. But actually, there's a better solution here, and it goes back to one of the points I didn't expand upon that well. But when you have this one here, and you have to do an R or an R prime, you could just switch that to a sledge or a hedge. Yeah, sledge or a hedge. So in this case, it would be a hedge. So in other words, you could do this move and then do a hedge from this angle, but notice that the first move is the one that we just undid. So from the scramble state, you have to do this, and then you could do this, but there's no need to do that either, because the next move is just this. So overall, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this will reduce to 2 gen. So the way I would solve this, actually, I would put this in here, and then I know that since these two are fixed, I can insert this like in the wrong way, and then I can insert it again, and that made it solved here. You might also end up with a hedge or double sledge or double hedge by doing that. Thanks for watching.